Welcome to MarkWHO77. Yes, that's right, MarkWHO77, the show for comic creators and conventioneers all across Britain, help with something in common with the 77 publications. My name is Mark Baumgarten. With me today on my this way, if I can show it that way, is Ben Cullis, the editor-in-chief of the 77 publications. And then down here, over here, is Vicky Jakubowski. Vicky, my co-host on MarkWHO42's universe, but who cares about that? We're here for MarkWHO77. I mean, we should advertise for we should cross-advertise.
What are we advertising this week, Mark? What amazing snack product can you advertise?
We are MarkWHO77 is sponsored by Cheetos from Japan. We have a delicious, there's Cheetah, and he's got some real good Japanese beef. For all you people out there, yes, it's the Cheetos Corn Sticks Japanese steak brand of Cheetos. And you will love it. If you go to Japan, you can find them everywhere. How much are you giving us for that, Ben?
I don't know. Vicky, if you're reaching for a Japanese food product, what do you go for?
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Oh, mochi.
There we go.
Okay. Well, what about you, Ben?
I don't really have.
He wants some sake. He wants some sake right now.
Sake.
Yeah. There you
Draft versus hot every time.
Okay.
Yes.
My preference is MarkWHO Diamond.
Before we start off the show, I'd like to make sure you all look down here underneath us. There is a subscribe button. There are like buttons. Please subscribe to the 77 publications and MarkWHO77 here on YouTube. And like us. We like the likes because it's likable. Okay, so we have a show today. We're going to be talking about some people. It was a person about. Let's even get there. Conventions. Yes, there are conventions coming up in October, comic conventions, and we're going to talk a bit about them. Ben, I know you've got some news about a few.
Oh, we've been so busy, Mark. Honestly, I've just not stopped. I had a weekend away, went with family to Gibraltar for a wedding. That was lovely. And now we're back, and we've got through the end of September, all the way through to December. So we've got coming up the Lakes International, quite highbrow international comic creators going up to Bowness on Windermere. That's where Beatrix Potter's from, I'll have you know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Jemima Puddle Duck, etc. Anyway, she's not there, but there will be literally hundreds of guests and stockists of all sorts of comics. We're there. That's happening at the end of September. So by the time this has gone out, I will be having a lot of fun up there, either in the rain or the wind, maybe a little bit of sunshine. There's a reason why it's called the Lake District.
I believe that. I believe that 100%.
Big lakes. Well, they're quite big lakes. They're quite big lakes for us.
Well, I used to live in Highland Lakes, and the road that went through it, when it rained, flooded completely. So we had a lake in Highland Lakes too.
Right, fantastic. Yeah. So we're back from Lycath, and then I'm going to go with Steve Bull and Ian Stopforth, who've been on the show, of course. We're meeting up with them up there, and then I'm going to be going to Bristol, the Bristol Comic Expo, Mike Allwood. And we have an apology from Mike, couldn't make it tonight. A couple of factors stopped him from getting on board to discuss it, but we'll be there, and just really going to shout out to Mike, saying it looks a great show, really looking forward to that. He's got such a high caliber of guests going. The 77 there in force with other publishers. So we've got British publishers, Time Bomb, are going to be there, and Scratch Comics. So hats off to them for also attending the show and helping make it hopefully a success return. It's a show that Mike started in '99, I believe, ran it for several editions. So it's always good when a show comes back after a few years.
Yeah, the comic festival started in 1999. It went on to 2004. Then in 2004, it changed to the Bristol International Comic and Small Press Expo, and now it's the Comic Expo Bristol. Sure. So that's actually interesting. He keeps using the same words, but changing them.
Oh, for legal purposes, clearly,
Oh yeah, definitely. I can understand that. That's why we're called MarkWHO77, not MarkWHO42's Friends of 77. Yeah, we didn't want to get sued by you, Ben.
Good.
Yeah, we
Very
didn't
good.
want to get sued by you.
Is that Friends of 77 Comics, 77 Publications, or 77 Comic Publication Limited? I mean,
It'll
you need to-
change every week. It'll change every week for those and Vicky will be our lawyer. She'll be doing the make sure everything is legal and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would fail miserably on both sides. Now, if you want me to do your accounting, we're just fine. But I would fail as a lawyer.
Well, but you have lawyers working for you. You can get that. You can help have them work for us, and it'll be pro bono or not pro bono, but you can manipulate the numbers on because you're the accountant. I know what I'm talking
not
about.
that kind of accountant.
Ah, okay. We're having too much fun here on MarkWHO77.
Okay, so yep, and so that's me taken through to what did we say, the 7th of October for the Bristol Expo. And then we got Thought Bubble, which is the largest of the kind of explicitly British comic conventions. I mean, there were plenty of big kind of movie ones, you know, the tie-ins. We have MCM, and we have the London Film Comic Con. They have two editions of those, a spring and an autumn show, a full show. But Thought Bubble is considered to be pretty much the largest of just the pure comics, and there's over 400 people exhibiting there and guests. And it's and Harrogate, I don't know if you know Harrogate. It's a spa town in the north of England, and beautiful architecture throughout it. It's well known for its political conventions. It's got one of these kind of huge convention halls that, you know, are used for those kind of things. But every November it's taken over with lots of comic geeks. So
I have a question. Thought Bubble, are they doing one of those 2000 AD submission contests again this year?
Yeah, very scary. I can give you a picture of this. So I went with a guy who used to work with us on the 77, Elliot Sinclair, and he was the first artist for Division 77, and he was pitching for 2000 AD as an artist. And actually, believe it or not, this is not as scary as it sounds with regards to the scripts, and I'll explain what the script writers had to do. But the artists, in front of a huge audience and a panel sitting there, you know, work blown up on the screen, and they had to listen to a critique of their work live.
Ooh,
that's scary. That's very scary. That is very scary.
And then the script writers, they had to give an elevator pitch. They had like a minute and a half, and they had to give their pitch. Now, how this works in terms of actually you sitting at home at your keyboard creating a strip, I don't know, but there we go.
That would be painful.
It's called,
and a lot of people are obviously up for it, and a lot of people are not. So...
It's called the 2000 AD Thought Bubble Torture Contest. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Proof that the medievals had nothing on us.
And you at Rebellion can take that name of the contest, and I give it to you free, and there's no payment necessary. You can use that.
Very good of you. Those Kingsley brothers will be much appreciative of that. Absolutely. But it's good to see them back. Rebellion had a year off. We all did prior to that. We went the first year back in 20, and we were the biggest publisher there. It was quite good, actually. Lots of people came to go, "Oh, who are you?" And that's a really good thing to do. But obviously now we have, I mean, it's sponsored by Comixology and BHP, so they're kind of big cheeses on our side. And you know, it's good that the big boys are back. That's fair enough. Actually, I heard something. Is this true? Have you heard this? What? So at San Diego, basically, people have stopped attending San Diego as exhibitors and just hire a shop out on the strip.
I've heard some people might do that.
That sounds
definitely would be cheaper.
Because it's cheaper. Yeah. Apparently, it's cheaper. You take over a really good cafe or something. And I heard this story. Someone said, "Sure, just tell us how much you normally take in a week. Just please, just humor me." And they said, "Oh, I don't know, $25,000." And they went, "How about we give you 50,000? Give you guys a holiday, or they can work for us during that week, and we'll host our whatever it was." And it still worked out an awful lot cheaper than the 200,000 or something.
Well, I could so see that happening because there's a couple things that happen at San Diego. There's a very limited amount of space. So the San Diego Comic-Con keeps trying to expand, and the city of San Diego keeps rejecting it because they'd have to do demolishing. There'd have to be other companies would have to move. And there's a big debate going on about where it is that it goes on, about what would happen, because it's this one event for this 1 week. And San Diego has so many other things going on that they're like, hey, yes, you generate money, but you are this much of our economy. We're not willing to destroy everything in our city for you guys for this 1 week. So San Diego Comic-Con is kind of in this weird little impasse, and they charge so much to go, and they charge so much to have a booth. And then you have people like Marvel decided this year not even to do a panel.
Yeah.
And so it becomes cheaper. They go further and further out, and there's all sorts of other things. People have found other ways to turn it into other ways to expand it, other ways to have fun with it, other ways to enjoy it. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, you know what? I think we can obviously ask our guest tonight, who's going to be on shortly, about that, because she had an experience of trying to run a show during COVID. And the solution to that was that we got together with a whole load of presenters and creators, and we obviously did a virtual show. But it'd be interesting to know whether Sue Haddrell from LAWLESS, who's going to be on in a bit, has also considered whether she wants to sort of like kind of have both things going. I mean, it's a hard thing. So, Sue runs a great show, and obviously I'll be talking at length about that as well. So the 77, we've been working alongside or attending anyway as exhibitors for 7 years now. So it's the 10th anniversary this year, and it's just fascinating. I think obviously San Diego must have started at some point as a smaller thing, right? And I don't know whether it's that American energy and whole kind of emphasis of bigger, faster, better, quicker, that whole thing. And so San Diego has become this bigger thing, or what? I mean, Vicky, sounds like a lot. Has it always been just huge? Because that's all I ever known about it being huge.
It has definitely it's taken a few years to get as huge as it is. It wasn't the first. The first was New York. And it really kind of started as
from my perspective, that's the one I want to go to. I want to go to New York.
I would go to, because I'm on the West Coast, I would actually go to the one that just happened. There's one that happens in Salt Lake City. That's 8 hours from my house.
Right.
San Diego's 9 hours from my house, but I'd go to the Salt Lake City one. There was a huge lawsuit that happened with San Diego. They had to change their name to FanX, but they have huge names. They just had a huge they had a bunch of Doctor Who actors that were there. They had a bunch of Buffy characters. They had a bunch of Supernatural. They had several of I've lost track of all the groups of actors that they had, but they had massive big names. They've had Avengers there. They've had huge A-list actor. David Tennant has done the Salt Lake City one several times. That's how big a name of actors that they get there. And it's expensive, but Salt Lake City spreads out more, and it's much easier to attend. They make it a lot easier. And there are big cities. Sacramento, which is only 2 hours from my house, does a nice big one. I'd love to go to the New York one, but I don't think I'd ever manage that one. Probably kill me.
The New York one, actually, that's interesting, because back in, I don't know if it was 81 or 82, I actually went to New York Comic Con when that is where I got my first edition paperbacks of Hitchhiker's Guide and Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
Oh, that is awesome.
That was cool. My dad, I was there. My dad took me, and it was for me. I had a lot of fun. I don't know what my dad. I had a lot of fun, and wow. But yeah, conventions are fun, and I'm glad we're going to get to talk about convention like LAWLESS in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, for us particularly, because we're kind of like, we're a niche publisher and we know that, I was actually bolstered this week. A couple of music papers in the country, which have since kind of, since they were really huge in the 60s and 70s and 80s, Melody Maker, the NME. Okay,
NME, love it.
NME.
Yeah, NME.
Hey, it's back, Mark. It's back.
Is it
But
back?
it's doing niche publishing. Oh, they're only publishing in the hundreds.
Okay.
And they're creating a bi-monthly, so only 6 issues a year, and you're paying, I believe, $15 for the fairly large magazine format. But what they're trying to do is build in. We were talking, weren't we, before the show about records and stuff and vinyl.
Right.
That people like artifacts, and I think that's why still comics are what they are, because you're holding something and it's yours and it's great and it's not digital, it's this and that. So I've been feeling that saying, so these publishers, they're saying how people want this stuff. It may not be that tens of thousands of people want it at the moment. And how can we actually make a go of it? So I think we're kind of like a little bit ahead of that, insofar as obviously we started in the COVID and we kind of had that whole fan base thing of working with our creators and stuff. And sure, some of our comics only selling high hundreds and others selling thousands. We're not saying otherwise. But it is that thing, I think, really, that and with conventions as well, I think people do like boutique conventions. I think they like ones where they kind of know their friends and they go there. Hey, the big ones are successful and surely will always be. I understand that entirely. But
I go to the little ones too. I love the little ones.
Absolutely. I mean, Sue's changed her convention methodology in the last couple of years. So she's gone over now to a full weekend, so it's Saturday and Sunday. That was a big change. And, we've got a way to go, but this year we are celebrating the 10th, and we'll obviously need to chat to Sue about what events she's or the theming that she's doing this year, and such like. I'm really excited and looking forward to it, because it's only now come the fall and towards December that as a body of people working on the convention that we really start thinking about it. I think it's only fair that she has a couple of months off to kind of get over the last one. I know. Any time off. But here we are in September. The show was last, what was it? End of May.
Yeah.
We had a debrief meeting and such like, and I'm really excited to be thinking, getting involved with discussing what we'll be doing in May. And of course, I think we mentioned it last week, Vicky, that maybe you're coming. Yeah. So
I have my question. I have my question that we talked about to ask her later in the interview.
How can you get sponsorship?
Yeah, we're gonna finish second. Before we go to Sue, I want to ask Ben, that picture you have behind you. There's something interesting, some news about that, isn't there?
Apart from the fact that it's a bit crumpled, I'm really sorry about it. So I don't use a digital backdrop. I should use a digital backdrop. What, you mean
like
this?
Me? Oh, yes.
Woo! Look at that.
So a couple of thanks, first of all. Thanks first to Ian Gibson. Steve and I went down and saw Ian last week in St Leonard by the sea, next to the sea, in Sussex. It's just along the coast from Brighton, beautiful part of the world. And Ian welcomed us and was able to sign off the actual proof copies of the book. It's important that it's his book, and obviously he wanted to just like say, that bubble needs to be there, or there's some fine positioning I just want to chat about. And we wanted to do it in person. Anyway, it's all been signed off and it's been printed, and the advanced copies have come forward already. So these are the trade paperbacks. The hardback will be a while yet. But anyone who's watching this in the future, so this is the trade paperback. And basically, we have a second cover as well, a fantastic one with all the main characters as on as well. Sorry, this is the impact shot. So our little channel there. And so the Kickstarters, you'll be, this is going out and available from our shop, the 77comic.net, and the hardback will be there as well. So absolutely fabulous for that. And this is what we're going to be premiering at all of these autumn shows. So that's why we booked them all. And people are quite excited about it. So yay, there we go.
Love it.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, I think this is the longest introduction we've had on MarkWHO77.
Well, let's now do the introduction.
Because we usually do like 3 minutes and then get to the real meat. But today we decided let's do at least 10 minutes and just talk amongst ourselves. Talk amongst yourselves. Just keep yourself busy. Ben, why don't you do the introduction?
Well, I've mentioned her name before.
You have mentioned Sue's name several times.
I have indeed. Sue Haddrell. She is a powerhouse. She's a lovely lady. She is basically one of a handful of people who have just taken the challenge to get a fantastic convention together. She heads a team. She's not on her own, but she is the cheerleader of the whole lot of them. And I'm very much looking forward to having a lovely chat with Sue Haddrell.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's bring Sue in. Well, hello, Sue.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. We're all doing good here at MarkWHO77. And we're going to be talking to you about yourself, about Lawless. But before we do any of that, we have to start with question one. I don't know if you've watched our previous episodes.
I have not.
Okay.
No, go on then. What's the question one?
This is the hardest question of the entire interview. After this question, everything is easy peasy, simples, there's no problem with it. This is the hardest question. All right,
Okay.
you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay.
Yep.
Who is Sue Haddrell?
Some random person.
Does that count as an
Who is
answer,
Sue
folks? I don't
You
know.
want
if
to
that
know
counts.
more?
Yeah.
You want to know more?
Yeah, yes. Who are you?
Inquiring minds want to know more.
That's what I hear.
Sue is a small English person. Recovering goth. Drinks too much tea and rum.
Rum is good.
Runs a comic convention. That's what I'm known for. I'm the organizer of Lawless Comic Con, and that's what I've been doing for the last sort of 10 years or so, on and off, with a couple of breaks in between. It's grown to be a very well-known convention as far as I'm aware. So we have artists and creators come into the show, as well as lots of Judge Dredd fans and 2000 AD fans. Outside of that, I'm a writer, I'm a drummer, I'm an artist, and I work full-time as well. So a lot of things on my plate, but that's who I am. And I'm based in Worcester in the UK.
Worcester. Spelled
That's it,
Worcestershire. Spelled Worcestershire, but it's Worcester.
I'm from Worcester. I'm Worcester. I'm
Worcester.
based in Worcester, and the county is Worcestershire.
Ah, okay. And like I mentioned, but go ahead.
The city is Worcester, and the county is in Worcestershire.
Okay. And like I mentioned before we started recording this, for us in the States, that's the sauce. You guys are famous for that.
I'm bringing the sauce today.
Could it be some rum in? Could we have some rum and maybe some other kind of sauce? Okay. Oh boy. Let's start with the second question. We've already asked the hardest question. We're good. We're good. I used to ask this question all the time on my other show, MarkWHO42. It's a question that we learn a lot about you besides the who is. And I thought, let's start asking it here. What exactly are your geek creds?
Ooh. That sounds very gatekeeping. Prove yourself. Prove your geekness.
That is completely unfair. Nope.
You have probably I think the largest collection. Can I prompt you? What do you think you might have the largest collection of, which is to do with a character?
Possibly Tank Girl stuff.
Tank Girl, yes.
Massive Tank Girl fan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a very big Tank Girl fan. Although Alan Martin, love him to pieces, is bringing out some amazing stuff, and I can't keep up with it now, so I'm having to be a little more fussy about my collection and what I can fit into my bare spare room. So I
understand the problem.
So I collect a lot of older Tank Girl stuff. I got into Tank Girl in the 90s, just after it's sort of 97, 96, 97 when they were big, and when they released, I think in about 93, 94, 95. So I just hit the tail end of it. And I've been a fan ever since my teens. Big fan of Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin, and also the latest stuff that Brett Parsons is doing with him and all the new character drawings and everything.
What did you think of the movie?
Love the movie. Yeah, big fan of the movie.
Okay.
And again, movies are cult classic. It's a big fan.
That's where I was introduced.
Yeah, it's a big part of my history, and I grew up with it as well. And no, it's nothing like the books whatsoever, but it has the art, and it has the feel of it, that chaotic, stupid humor to it.
So did you not pick up Deadline then at the time?
No, I was about 16 at the time, so I picked it up through the graphic novels via my Lancing library, my local library.
Brilliant.
So but Deadline passed me by completely. I didn't start collecting that until years later, when I started collecting stuff off of eBay, and then that's where I got it from initially.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's my big. I'm a very big Tank Girl collector.
So why didn't you do a Tank Girl convention?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's good. That's a great question.
because it's quite a small cult following, or it was at the time I started. And there's
Yeah,
only
but you
a
could
couple
bring
of
them in,
artists.
couldn't you?
Oh,
You
yeah,
could
There's
you
bring
only
could.
one
them in.
writer. There's only one writer. It's Alan, and there's a the selection of artists in relation to it is quite small as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's not much to swap and change around on a yearly basis when you're talking Tank Girl.
Same
2008
guess
is a
every
bit of a genre.
same guess every year. Same
I can't
few
complain about
guess. Yeah.
But Mark and Vicky, can I ask you that question the other way in terms of
Okay.
in the
Ah,
States, from your perspective, what's better known, Tank Girl or Judge Dredd?
Judge Dredd. No, I
Mm.
take that back. I take that back because of the movie. I would say Tank Girl, but that they may have
Well,
forgotten
Yeah.
by now. But
no, I would say that
I would
Judge
say
Dredd
Dredd.
is better known
well, because it's Stallone.
because it was
Really?
Stallone.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Because if I tell people, because I love Tank Girl,
Mhm.
and I love the movie because anything that is that punk and is that much
Oh
of a
yeah.
girl
Laurie
kicking
Petty
ass.
nailed it.
I
Nailed that role.
know.
Yeah.
It
She's
just,
kick-ass.
it's great. And most people, I mean, come on, even in the 90s, even today, people are like, a girl leading a movie. Oh my God. You know, they still, I mean, come on, look at the backlash for anything with Captain Marvel in it. People are like, a
Yeah.
girl leading a movie. Oh my God. You
But yeah,
know,
we did it 20 years ago. You just forgotten about that bit.
yes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it just, because it had Sylvester Stallone in it, people will always think of Judge Dredd, even though that
Yeah.
movie was
Even though
awful.
it bombed. Even though it bombed in the
Even
United
though
States.
it bombed,
Yeah.
it had Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
And even though the comic books are better known
Right.
here and everything else,
Yeah. I
that's
guess.
they're going to know that here.
Yeah.
But I don't think they know it as well. But when I say Judge Dredd, people go, "Oh yeah."
Right.
And they have an association with it, even if they don't know it that well, but you're more likely to find
Yeah.
someone who knows that name.
When I talk to my cool friends, their answer would be Tank Girl because
Ah,
it's cool.
Okay.
No, but Judge Dredd is good. And you're saying how because it's Stallone you'd remember? Is that what you said, Vicky?
and because it's Stallone, people
Okay.
remember.
Not
Here's what I was
11, yeah.
here's what I was going to say. I have no idea how many Rocky movies there were. So there, I don't care about Sylvester Stallone.
Nobody knows how many Rocky movies there were. I mean, I think there are 56
Sue,
now.
doesn't-
If you include the Creeds, you know.
Well, that's right. Creed would be a spin-off.
Creed
Yeah.
1,
Yeah.
Creed
Right,
2, are we
yeah.
on Creed 58 now? I don't know.
Does he show up in
You
those?
know,
Does he show up in those at all, Vicky? I haven't
I
seen
don't
them.
I don't know. I've never seen them.
There you go. So we're very happy with the Rocky saga.
I just know they're there. It's kind of like the Rambo movies and the Freddy's, and I lose track. I don't know how many
There
there
you go.
are.
Let's
How
get
many
back.
Predator movies are there? Really? Tell me. I
let's-
lost track.
Let's get back to Sue, Ben.
Well, talking of numbers, Sue, number 10, what does that mean for you?
Number 10, it's our 10-year anniversary next year.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So not technically not our 10th show, but definitely our 10-year anniversary, because we had a few gaps for COVID and bits and pieces where we didn't run.
Yeah.
But yeah, our first show was in 2014, and I was kindly reminded that next year is 2024, and I was like, oh, awesome. That's the show then.
That sounds
Probably
fabulous.
should take notice of that.
And how's
Hey,
the show
you
developed
know-
over those 10 years then, Sue? What changes have you seen and you've
Oh,
been
it's-
part of?
It's amazing seeing how it's evolved. It literally grew from, it grew from our whole, I used to do a lot of conventions, like the standard kind of sci-fi pop culture conventions back in sort of 2012, 2013. Met a whole bunch of people who are into cosplay just when the internet, Twitter was taking off a lot more and the internet was a lot more of a sociable place. So the cosplay scene was really, really
Oh yeah.
taking off at that point. So I happened to know a whole bunch of guys who dressed as judges from Judge Dredd in 2000 AD, and the 2012 Dredd movie had come out as well. So we'd all seen Carl Urban at
Yeah.
MCM in London at that year. So I was doing bits and pieces and little projects at the time, organizing kind of games days and geek meets and stuff like that at the time. And these guys that I happened to know were just like, well, you should do a Dredd convention, because there isn't one. There used to be one and there isn't one. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. Absolutely. So the first show was in Birmingham, because I happen to know a guy who runs a rock club in Birmingham, and he was like, you can use my venue. So that was really cool.
Wow.
So we used his venue for the day. We hired that out for the day. John Wagner got in touch and was just, yeah, I'd love to come along. There isn't anything Dredd related. I'd love to come and show what I'm doing. I think we had about 5-6 guests on the first go. And we had about 60 attendees maximum. And they were all just, literally people that I knew, essentially, who'd bought tickets and come to see their artists. It was a huge success. We broke even. So we were able to afford to do it next year. So we did it again. And we just carried on doing that, basically, just keep going. And it grew and grew. We moved it to Bristol because the rock club closed down. So I wasn't able to use that place anymore. And there's a convention in Bristol, a writers' convention in Bristol that I go to. So they passed me their details and we were like, cool, set that up there then. So yeah, it's been at Bristol ever since. It's a good location for everybody to get to. They've got some good rooms that we can use, and it's just grown ever since. We're up to about 400 attendees, 300 to 400 attendees each year. We're up to 30 guests. We're actually, like, maximum we can have now is 30 guests. So we literally have to now swap in and out of guests because it's you can't get any, I can't fit any more in. The space is limited, so it's quite niche in that respect, and that it's not a big free-for-all warehouse that everybody just wanders around seeing hundreds and queuing up for hundreds and hundreds of artists. I literally have to pick and choose specifically what guests I want or people want each year and go, sorry guys, you can't come this year, but we're going to invite you guys instead, and do that. It's quite difficult, but other than that, it's a massive show now.
I've been to comic and science fiction conventions all across the United States, some with a few guests, like when you started it, some the ones that have over 100 guests, writers, comic creators, actors, things like that. And you were talking about that you've got well, how many, 60 or 30 did you say?
30, essentially 30 slots.
30 slots, okay.
Give or take, depending on how many I squeeze in and how many when we run out of tables.
Okay.
It gets a bit fraught.
My question is, what is your con like? Not only what is your con like, but what do the punters do for an average day there? What is there to do at your convention?
So it's a pretty standard layout now. It's a little bit of a template that we use. So we have a room that we'll use for panels. So we'll have a stage set up with chairs and tables for an audience, and we'll have about 5 or 6. But it's now over a weekend. It started off over one day, but now it's spread over the whole week for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So we'll have a 2-day program. And the panel room will literally be interviews with individual guests, or like a panel of guests talking about a specific subject matter, either what they're working on now or anything, like tell us about this, how have you contributed to the city of 2000 AD or something like that. So it'll be an actual discussion. And they'll be held throughout the day, so there'll be 5 or 6 of those each during the day that you can attend. And then we have a big open room that all our guests sit at for the day, so they're sketching and they're signings and they're selling whatever they want to sell. If they've got a new book they're promoting, you can buy all their latest work. Quite often they'll have their portfolio of their art, so David Roach always brings a massive portfolio of all his original works, so you can actually purchase like original works there and stuff like that.
Okay.
We have a small traders section, so we like to encourage a lot of small press and publications and new publications, so but also merchandise as well, but not kind of your usual pop culture merchandise. Just if you've got you're a local business and you're selling comic related merchandise and t-shirts and things like that, then we have a traders room that has a whole bunch of tables selling all that and small press stuff and like that, and original art as well. And then lastly, we've got a last room is an exhibition room we started using it for the last 2-3 years. So last year or this year, we had the Steve Dillon exhibit, which is proper. The family came along and had a full exhibition of all Steve Dillon's original works that he's been doing throughout the years. And previously
the year before, was it Graham Bleetham? Was it the year before? The guy.
The year before was Graham Bleetham
and stuff.
And and prior to that was Carlos Esguerra. So because it was a tribute to Carlos, it was the year after he passed away. So John got in touch and said, we want to do a tribute. So we've got something quite nice, I think, quite spectacular for the exhibition, I think, ready for 2012. We just got to get it all signed off. But I'm looking forward to seeing what that one's going to be like. I think it's going to be pretty special.
Can you tell us of any guests that have already been signed on for next year?
John, so we do have our standard kind of 5 or 6 who are diehards that will come every year. So John Wagner is going to be up for next year. Glenn Fabry's coming again, along with Karen Holloway. Dan Cornwall is always a regular. John Higgins. So those are our main diehards. David Roach is going to come along to us again. So David Roach was at our first show, and we're trying to get along the guests that are at our first show in 2014, I'm trying to get them along again this year, so I can confirm that Pete Doherty's confirmed, all being well. I know he's not very well at the moment, so yeah, all being well, that he's going to come next year. And who else have we got? Oh, you put me on the spot now. I'm trying to remember names. Yes, but we have a few of the guests who are at the first show coming to this show.
I appreciate in the cycle as such, it's a bit awkward time to ask who's coming, because you've got an awful lot of things to,
That's
plates
true.
to spin and favors
Yeah.
to call in, or just people to confirm. I take it, Sue. But
yeah,
do you want to take us through just kind of like how it is that you do settle a convention? How do you plan a convention? What sort of things come into play?
oh, I'm giving away trade secrets now. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that.
Oh yeah, MarkWHO77. Yeah, you're only talking to us.
Just between us squirrel friends.
Pretend there's no one out there on the YouTube channel watching. It's
How
just the four of us. We're having a
setting up
conversation.
a convention. So yeah, it's maximum. I mean, it generally it's about 6 months work, but it's become such a big show. There's also an awful lot that happens after that rolls over, so it's becoming more of a yearly project. I think I usually take about July, August, and I completely drop off the radar altogether and ignore anything. So now is about the time I start picking everything up and going, okay, how the hell do I do this again? And start reminding myself what I did last year. So this is where I start. I literally do a shout out to our group. We've got a really, really good social Facebook group. It's a very, very community led and a fan loved event. So I will literally put up a post on the Facebook group going, who do you want me to invite this year? You guys are the fans. I'm an organizer. I'm a comic book fan, but not to the extent that I know every single comic book artist and creator there is out there. So who's big at the moment? Who's not? Who do you want to see? Who should I invite? And they'll send me massive lists, so I'll get comments coming through of list of people, and I literally just spreadsheets are my friend. So I have a massive list of names on spreadsheets. I do some googling. I think, oh, you've worked on this recently, it'd be good to get you on board. Or you've got this launching soon, I should have a chat with you. Or you're quite local and so and so, I should probably have a chat with you. So there's that element. And also I get quite a few recommendations. So now it's been going that long. A lot of artists are saying, oh, can I invite so-and-so? Because I'm working with him on this. It'll be really great if we could do this together, which is awesome. I
know for a fact, Sue, that some of your guests now actually specifically have books that they want to premiere at the show. The gentleman's T-shirt I'm wearing.
Yay.
Oh!
So John will be premiering. We're thinking it's going to be happening that the new the third part of Rock the World will be premiering at Lawless, if all things work out in the year ahead. So myself and him and Dan have been chatting. We met up at the convention at Lawless this year, Sue, and we had quite a lengthy meeting. We actually were very kindly, the gentleman who runs the restaurant during the daytime allowed us to go and sit in it's about the quietest area in the hotel at that time. In the Kiln restaurant, and we had a meeting there, and hopefully it's just all going to be basically that John and Dan will be promoting that, and I also know a couple of other potential guests will be looking to promote it. I think it's because I think it's a really good testing ground, and some genuine fans are going to be there. Is that your feeling, that you feel that the reason that so what's the question is, why do you think the guests like Lawless?
I think they're, like you said, it's a good testing ground. I think they're tapping into fans who have a very specific fandom. So they're there to see stuff, that the guests have been working on. They know exactly who they're coming to see. They know exactly what those creators have been working on. And they know exactly what their history is. So there's definitely a very niche level of audience that I'm tapping into, who know exactly who they like and what they want to see. And because it's quite a small venue, and we've only got a limited space for a certain amount of attendees, you get that opportunity to have a chat with the guests. So it's not just a case of lining up for a queue for 4 hours, getting a thing signed and buggering off. You actually literally get to have a chat with them. You can go around again and come back to them later in the day and have another chat with them. You can browse through all their portfolios, and then you go and have a pint with them at the end of the night, kind of thing. Most of the guests are hanging around, and they're there to see each other as well. It's a massive, it's a social event for them just as much. So it's this huge social gathering for everybody to actually spend time with a lot of people who are actually heroes to them, that you wouldn't get to on that personal basis that you would do in something, a bigger convention where it is, just a massive hallway. And you're just waiting for the next person to get out of the way so you can get your thing signed. I think it's definitely a much more personable approach, and it's yeah, there's a lot more chatter and a lot more time to spend with each other and appreciate each other.
How did, Ben, this is for both you and Sue, how did the 77 Publications get involved with Lawless as a sponsor?
Well, we attended a couple of years. It was then, without needing to go into too much detail, Sue used to run a different named convention. It was called Lawgiver, and we went to the 17 and 18 editions.
So, yeah, you came to the Carlos one, didn't you?
That's right. That's right. And we just started basically being a bit of a presence, and then really it was. Am I right, Sue? Was it because we also helped with regards to how you managed to show during COVID? Because we did a couple of shows, didn't we? Online things, and
we did. So I think we got chatting anyway because you guys were telling me all about the work you were doing and how it come together because you were meeting up at Lawless, which I thought was awesome. Right. So like the coming together of the 77 and you guys meeting each other and putting together this idea for an anthology was as a result of you know, meeting each other and finding common ground at Lawless. So that was amazing to me. Like that creation coming out of my little show was just like, whoa, that's awesome. And then the 2022 Lawless got cancelled. No, 2020 Lawless got cancelled. But we decided we were going to do an online show. We were going to do, you know, set up YouTube, and I'm freely admit I am not a web savvy type person. I'm a podcaster. I'm not a YouTuber by any stretch. This is about as text as you get me with the whole background. My other half does all this for me.
You got the backdrop perfect.
Yeah, my other half is amazing. He does all of this for me. It's just like sorting it all out, and I'm just sat there going, "Thank you, Ernie."
But the show has developed though, hasn't it, Sue? Because not just in terms of where it was first held in Birmingham and then moving down to Bristol and then going, it's now a 2-day show. So, and remind me, is it this will be the third iteration of it as a 3-day show next year? So it's a 2-day show next year.
We came back after COVID, so we attempted to do an online show over COVID, which went okay, but I would never do it again. It did what it needed to do, which was keep the community together, and that's what I wanted it to do, was just keep everyone chatting and keep everyone in touch, and that's what I wanted to do. So we came back fighting. I decided, a few people have mentioned to me about doing a 2-day show, and I looked into the logistics of it and the costs and things like that, and I was just like, well, everyone's staying over anyway. All the guests stay over on the Saturday night, so let's just roll it over and do it all again on the Sunday. So that's what we did. So they're all a little bit worse for wear on the Sunday, and it's a little bit of a shorter day as well, because everyone obviously likes to get home and catch trains and stuff, so there's not quite so many panels, but it works really nice. It's a quieter day on Sunday, but it gives everyone again that little time just to connect and just to catch up with things they might have missed and purchase last minute bits that they sort of, you know, they missed the first time round.
You know, I think it really works well for those people who go, I've got a list of people I want to hit up on Saturday, and any I miss, or I am going to withdraw some more cash or put some more cash on my credit card. I'll do it on Sunday. They sleep on those decisions, don't they? And they kind of like, you know.
I love the fact that it's really successful for the artists and the creators as well. They do so well out of it. I get so many creators coming up to me saying, I've made more here than I have done going to this 2-day show up north and all that, or they'll have all year, because they literally have this audience, this target audience aimed directly at them, going, shut up and take my money. So it works really, really well for them.
I mean, Sue, I do lots of shows now. I was discussing it earlier. The shows I'm doing this fall. So I'll be doing LICAF, which is always a fun one to go to at the lakes. It's beautiful. It's a pleasure to be there. It's just a kind of very chilled out. And that's with John Freeman and the guys up there. And now I'm going to do the new Mike Allwood one. And I said Mike couldn't make it. Then it's Thought Bubble. And then it will be sort of like LFCC, the London Film Con, or the MCM. Now those, and they're great, absolutely brilliant shows. But in between those are those sports hall ones with all the Funko toys and the third droid from the left and another Darth Vader walking past. And I often have to find myself fielding questions where you're just smiling and going, smile, because they say, so what do you do then? Do you do comics?
No. No,
there's a place for those, but it's so nice to also have the ones where you feel like you count.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
No, I agree.
Lawless and other shows where the professionals go to meet meet their friends as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just that as well.
Yeah, no,
You know?
absolutely. For a lot of the guests, it's there that they're there to catch up with each other as well. It's genuinely a big reunion for a lot of them as well, which I'm really proud of. So yeah, 2-day show next year, which would be good as well.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
and possibly a VIP evening event as well. So I'm in the process of trying to.
Vicky, you need to bring that gown.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because this person down here.
I'm planning on going. I've already reserved the hotel. We're working
That's good because
on.
I haven't. I need to do that.
Well, it happens to be the same weekend as my wedding anniversary.
Oh,
So my
wow.
husband and I have decided to make a whole trip of it.
Amazing.
So,
Hey,
so
Vicky, we could do the Vicky who.
No. No. Oh, and that brings up this question. Okay, Sue. Some of us have been talking. Well, okay, not some of us have been talking. I've been talking.
Only
Dave's
him.
been listening for some time about coming to Lawless in some way. I've done conventions in the United States. I've been a moderator. I've been an interviewer. I've been talent there. I've gone from small conventions, like I said, to larger conventions, not just in Florida, Atlanta, Oklahoma City, Dallas, I've gone, LA.
Wow.
I've been everywhere. And I've been thinking, and especially since starting MarkWHO77, it would be great to come to Lawless as a guest so that I can do moderations and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out, and actually this is something Ben's been, he's listening, but he's also trying to give me an idea. How can we,
What are you doing, Ben?
how can we crowdsource or something for me to get there? Because I want to be there and I'd love to be there, but I can't. I don't have the do-re-mi, so I don't know what to do. And
I'll be honest, you're not the only one. That is the big thing about doing the show that I do, is we're very limited on funds. That's why a lot of our guests and creators are UK based, because we're not a big show. I can't afford to fly someone in or half a dozen people in from the States. I can afford, room and board and things like that. But yeah, we're quite limited into what we're able to provide in terms of ticket funds coming in versus how much I'm paying out for guests and space and stuff like that. And that's literally where our funds go, is all in, it's merchandise and it's guests and promotion and stuff like that. So sadly I can't do
but if you do another virtual show, I'd like to put my name forward to be one of the moderators.
Well, we can definitely bring you in. I mean, I've done a few moderations too. We'll just put a screen up with him next to me.
There you go. I mean, we can do that. If she's
I'll
doing
occasionally mute him.
Come on. Come on. It's my name on the show,
darling.
not yours.
I won't mute
you. Don't stop my voice.
I promise.
We'll put it to the fans of the 77, Mark. See if we can get a little fundraiser.
Yeah, let's do a fundraiser.
No, seriously,
I don't know,
Sue,
Mark. I think I've been on the stage longer than you have, though.
Well, how long?
My first production, I was 5 years old. So.
I sang opera at the Met when you're right. It was earlier because I was only 7. So that would have been 74. It would have been 1974 and 75.
Damn, I was 75.
Oh, then I win.
Okay.
I win. Yay.
Yeah, never
mind. Anyway, Sue, this does remind me, it leads me to actually not a genuine, but a real sort of, is it I can consider it a fundraiser, but you do have a slot, is it which goes out to the membership as such, or the guests and the guys on the Facebook groups, nominating someone who they would potentially like to see come to the show, and maybe you might remind us about that.
Yeah, so we have something called the Noble Bolt Award. So a couple of members of the community, Dave Evans and Colin Noble. Dave Evans was known as Bolt01. And he helped us for many years produce the program for the show. So along with Zarjaz, he would do dread strips in the program, and then he helped put it all together for many years. So I was in contact with him via email, and he'd come to the show quite a lot of times. And Colin Noble helped a lot with promotion and just generally networking, and was very, very contactable, and was a big supporter of the show, but never actually managed to make it to the show itself. And they both passed on a few years back, and I wanted to do something to honor their memories because they were such big parts of the community. And so I created the Noble Bolt 01 Award. And the Noble Bolter One Award is an award that we give to someone. So you can, the nominations open in November,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do an announcement for that. And you up until tickets go on sale at the end of January. So you've got sort of a 3-month period.
Right.
You can email the Lawless email address and nominate someone that you feel deserves to come to the show for whatever reason. It doesn't, it can be just because they're your best mate.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's someone who's maybe never been to the show, has always wanted to come to the show, but couldn't make it for whatever reason. They've never been able, they've been ill, or they've got family issues, or they can't afford it. But someone who's always wanted to come to the show and has never been able to make it. And you send me your nominations, and I pick one of them, and we pay for their transport and accommodation and a ticket to the show to come for the weekend.
Where can they
Excellent.
write to? Where can they write to do this? To nominate someone?
LawlessComicCon@hotmail.co.uk or at hotmail.com even.
Speaking of Bolto One, there was that Kickstarter campaign earlier in the year. Was it last year? For the
Yes.
I actually supported that. I'm sorry, Ben. I kind of went against the 77. I supported someone else. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Well,
there's some great
Yeah.
things to support out
Yes.
there, and
Yeah.
and we the 77 publications back a lot as well.
Yeah, there
And,
you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Sue was saying about the small press, as we kind of are, or the
Mhm.
independents. And I think, Sue, I'll say from our perspective, I think that's been the biggest change in the last 5 or 10 years,
Yes,
is
it
the way
really
that we
has.
can self-fund now. And I think the quality of the product of the publications that everyone's all bringing out is just amazing, isn't it?
It's stunning. And the popularity of how it's worked, and so long as you follow through on those promises, and you've got that and you provide that quality of work, and you provide to your creators off the back of it, you've got audiences there for the taking. People will support through as much as they can for something they're a fan of. You can create such a good audience via that. And I think, it's the best way to go for a lot of small publications and small press to open yourself up an awful lot more to an audience. Definitely. Yeah, it's been really, really successful. I've noticed that a lot.
That's just
I mean,
so
I've noticed
wonderful.
it even more so with even like with John bringing back Bogey.
and Bogey,
Just you've got the older artists now who are like, I want to do something again. I want to create something. I don't want to go to a mainstream publisher to get this off the ground. I want to do it off my own back. They've got the clout there because they've got the history within themselves. People are throwing money at it. Just again, shut up and take my money.
John
it's something.
John was astonished with, and I think wrongly so. He shouldn't have been astonished. We knew it was going to be a huge success, but he was bowled over with just how it went. And the same with Ian Gibson's Lifeboat, and there'll be other guys and creators who are. I think John Higgins is doing some as well this coming year. Although John doesn't always have to kickstart because he does have his own publishing deals and stuff. But
of course, he's doing his scrapbook, isn't he?
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
I'm going to take lots of credit for that because that was my idea, and I'm very pleased with it.
Yes, he came and spoke to me at Bedford Nice about that, actually. So it's good to see him back on the feet because Dave's had his issues as well this year. I think he had eye surgery and some mobility issues.
It's good to see him back going into it.
I think it's wonderful the way that the people that we look up to and the people who have inspired us over the years are, I guess to a certain extent, they're getting their due, and it's been way too long for some of them.
Yeah.
And whether I think something like Lawless is wonderful, where they're getting some of the recognition, and the fact that they get to have that really close contact with the fans. I like some of the smaller cons I've been to in the last few years. We have one in Reno, and then there was one I went to. It was actually in LA, and it's 3,000 people, which sounds really big, but it's really not that big when you think about LA. And it was just really nice. I mean, I even got to go and have a drink with Chris Chibnall from Doctor Who, so it was really nice.
Cool.
I had breakfast next to the Sixth Doctor. I mean, he was really nice. And it was just really sweet and kind of a relaxed atmosphere. And you got to both geek out a little bit and also just tell people that they meant something to you.
Yeah.
And let them know that, listen, we like you. You inspired us, and we haven't forgotten you. You still got it.
Yeah.
Because I think all of us humans kind of need that, no matter who we are, where we've been in our lives, what we've done. We need to know that we mattered somewhere. And I think it's hard for some people who feel like they had their heyday. And let's be honest, a lot of these artists and creators weren't always compensated very well
Oh yeah,
in the
I
70s,
think as
80s,
well.
and even 90s.
A lot of obviously a lot of them are stuck behind PCs writing and stuck behind easels
Yeah.
drawing, and to get them out of that in front of their audience means an
Yeah.
awful lot to them, because they're suddenly recognizing actually it's not just me and my nose down
Yeah.
kind of doing my thing. This is the influence my work has had, and it's appreciated, and that makes a
I
huge
like to
difference, I
not
think.
be that, I am a fangirl, but I try really hard not to be too geeky when I get out there. But, but I do. I get out there and I was like, yeah,
I'll tell you what,
hi.
if we ever get Jamie Hewlett to the show, I'll probably be on the floor. I'll be just a puddle of fangirl.
I know. It's like, okay, listen, I really, really adore you. And I want that one, that one, that one, that one. Can you sign them all? I've got money. Please take it. And I'll go to my husband and was like, you think we could afford to just do a little bit more? I think we can make the budget work, right? And it's awful because you realize that so often these shows, big and small, for so many of these creators, this is their bread and butter. Because I think too many people have forgotten how amazing they are, and they've forgotten how great. And I appreciate that the 77 and other organizations have been like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And I've just been in awe the last couple of years working with Ben, and some of the projects you guys have worked on, and some of the names that you've brought back. And I'm just thinking, why did they ever go away? What do you mean that they've just been doing some things but kind of quietly? Or
Well, Sue would have had feedback from people who would have come up to her after the show, some of the quieter, most loveliest guests you've ever met, and I've heard this, Sue, they say things like, I never realized that these people were wanting to see me, or I mean, don't want to mention names, but regularly become regularly now. It's been,
and that's why I think that's why we have the regular. I mean, everyone asked to come back to the show next year, and I would love to have just everyone coming to the show year in, year out. It would be just amazing. And it's lovely to be asked. It's lovely to have that, can I come back again? And can you fit me in, kind of thing. And it's just like, I really want to, but I need to swap things around. And they understand that. It's all, they understand the industry and how it works. So, but no, it's awesome to be able to see everyone and see how much of an influence it has and how much they enjoy it.
That is great. So I actually have a question for you, because I know you're a creator also. And I looked at a little bit of what you've been doing, and it looks like you like to write horror stories.
Yes, I write some horror stories. I do write sci-fi and fantasy, but it tends to be more leaning towards horror, just because I do tend to tap into that a little bit more.
Well, we've asked other creators what their inspiration is. So what inspires you to write your stories? Any of the topics you write about.
Any of the topics are right. I'm trying to think
horror,
now.
sci-fi, any of them.
I like writing. I don't know. That's a really weird question. I've never had that before.
No, wait a minute, Vicky, you could not ask that question. That sounds like a hard question. We promised there were no hard questions.
Oh, I know.
Promise. But you know what? You asked it, so we're gonna go with it. But don't ask that again. Go ahead.
I'll keep it really easy after this.
My inspiration comes from a lot of places, I think, because I read a lot and I write. I watch a lot of movies, and I like doing things, and I think with writing particularly, I've been studying for a qualification for the last few years, and I'm getting back into writing after passing that and sorting it all out. And one thing I've noticed a lot in the last 6 months or so is how much things tick away in the background. So I'm constantly wandering around, looking around, going, oh, that staircase in that hotel, that looks really creepy, I could use that in something. And I've just come back from a weekend in Newquay with my best mate, and she did the hot fuzz quote on me, going, you're always thinking away, aren't you? You never switching off. Because I was literally like, this is a really cool Stephen King small town, everybody knows each other, something really horrible could happen here, and I could write about it. And like that's how it works. Is I sort of just go around picking up on random bits and store them in my head, and then I'll
so you
get
got
out-
that imaginary file cabinet back there with all the cool
pretty
stuff
much,
you
yeah,
see.
and 1,001 notebooks, and I'm just I'll constantly pick away at little bits and pieces and think that's pretty cool. I could use that in something, or something somebody says, or I'll watch a TV series and something will go something, somebody will say something, and I'm like, that's a really good line. I need to use that in something. And I'll find a submission call for something that just kind of captures my attention.
Right.
So they'll be after stories of a particular theme, and I'll go, oh, I've got something for that because I had a thought about it the other day. So I've just done one submitted, well, it's due to be released in next month, I think, October, Wild West horror. And I've been playing
interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption because that's one of my favorite. So I was like, okay,
I should have guessed. That's one of my son's favorite games.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure the guy didn't actually realize I was British when I
I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
it got accepted, so it's due for publication in October. I'll send that link and stuff. But that was a fun one.
Yeah, so we just talked about the inspiration for your writing, but I haven't had a chance to read any of your stories you're writing. If you were going to recommend one or two for me to go out and read, or for any of our people watching, what would you suggest we read?
My own work?
Of your work. I want to know. I don't know I haven't read your work. I'd like to find out about it. I'd like to read it.
You can I do have an Amazon author page, so if you can find my name on Amazon, I'll come straight up. My name will be linked to other authors in the same anthology, so it won't say such and such by Sue Haddrell. It'll be such and such, including stories by Sue Haddrell. So they're all anthologies with a collection of stories by other people. My standalone one that got published was one called Bodies, which is a World War II horror, which I was very pleased with. What else have we got? My very first one that I got published in 2016 was the first one that I ever got published. I was really pleased on. It's called The Bothy, BOTHY, The Bothy, and it's BOT as in a mountain bothy.
Yeah.
Like a place that you go and hide up when the storm comes in. And it's a mountaineering horror.
Wow.
So there you go. Read The Bothy. The Bothy is in an anthology called Winter Tales, published by Fox Spirit.
Okay.
And then the body one called Bodies is a standalone one, so you can download that straight to Kindle.
On Kindle, perfect. I'll do that in a few minutes as soon as we get off.
I don't know. We're supposed to have snow this weekend. I may not want to read
those there you go.
Maybe not.
I live in the mountains. That may not be a good idea.
I think you like it. It's a good one.
Back to inspiration. I know you play the drums. Who inspired you? What drummers inspired you to play the drums?
So I've only been playing the drums since about where are we? 2016. I started playing. So my other half plays bass. And he bought himself a new rig and a new setup, and we got talking about, we've both been into music for many, many years, and I tried playing guitar and never stuck with it, and he tried to teach me bass and I never stuck with it, and he got a new setup and a new rig, and I was like, I fancy having a go at drums, and he says, that's because you play air drums, you don't play air guitar, you play air drums. And I was like, oh yeah, and he bought me a little kit like this, cover, just like, if you stick with that, see how you get on, have a play around with it. And that was in October. By December, my birthday, he bought me a full acoustic kit, like a proper, really, really nice, gorgeous 5-piece kit. And I took to it like a duck to water. I was just like, where have you been all my life? This is the greatest. Why did I not learn this sooner? It's the greatest thing ever. I just love it. Absolutely.
Do you have any recordings we could play on the show here?
No.
I could use it.
I have a few home YouTube videos.
When's there going to be the convention band then?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a better question, Ben. Better question.
Come on.
Then you'll get
the Lawless House
band.
Bass solo.
In rock bands, don't you? You know they are. It's musicians and artists and comic people seem to be the same Venn diagram.
Not sure I quite have the confidence to play with other musicians yet, so I haven't. I've been playing quite a long time, but because again studying and stuff, that kind of killed off that little bit. So I've gone back to practicing an awful lot more. So I'm only about grade 3, but I do have a selection of songs that are my YouTube songs that I play along to. And
like what?
Yeah, like what?
I like Panama by Van Halen.
Ooh, that's good. I like that song. That's good. I got it's on
That's
YouTube.
a good drum one.
It's on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, so Panama by Van Halen, I can play along to. What else have we got? Velvet Revolver, Sliver, I can play that.
Oh,
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Uptown Funk. Love Uptown Funk.
That's gotta
always
be.
fun.
Yeah.
That's gotta be.
So Mark, that's the outro music, okay? One of
No,
those.
no,
is
no,
the
no, no,
outro
no.
music.
That's what we're doing. I'm totally. That's the end credits. Is one of these songs. I'm listening.
But yeah, my favorite band, one of my favorite all-time favorite bands, is a British band called the Wild Hearts.
Okay.
But they're very, very fast double drum pedal solos.
Ooh.
I have not got the speed for it at all. I'm nowhere near close for that one. So getting there. But yeah, love my drums.
Okay.
Need to play more.
But I'm guessing it's a great outlet for you.
It's very meditative. Everyone thinks it's beating the hell out of things, and it's not. Everyone thinks, I'm like, and it's not that kind of strength. It's you're using all your limbs at the same time in different rhythms. So it's very meditative, because you're having to think, you're literally solely focused on the one thing that you're doing. So you're keeping the groove.
Yes.
You're playing along to a thing. You're making sure you're hitting everything in the right order and the right time with all four limbs. So you're not thinking about anything else in the world at all. And that's what I love about it, and particularly when I'm practicing a piece. So I'm doing a lot of grade 3 stuff at the moment, which is learning different genres of music, so bossa nova and jazz and all that kind of stuff. And they'll give you like they'll give you an 8-bar groove to try and practice, and you start slow and get your limbs doing what they should be doing in the right order, and you build it up. And I can do that for hours. It's so meditative, just like tink, tink, tink,
Yes.
and yeah, you get lost in it. Something like 3 hours have passed and I probably haven't stopped. I'm like, yeah, probably should go and have a drink now.
Oh, that's fabulous, though.
Yeah, it's really, really
Everybody needs something like that.
Yeah, I do lots of things like that. Yeah, gardening as well is good for that as well. And running's good too.
Who wants to take the next question?
Anybody got more questions?
No, we have plenty more questions. Ben, go ahead. Usually I go to Vicky and she's stumped. This time Ben stumped. What?
Well,
Come on, anything else you want to know about Lawless? What can I tell you about
Oh,
Lawless?
yeah, let's talk about Lawless.
Oh, yeah. Well, what else can we talk about Lawless?
Okay, so
when is
How
it?
much spice
So
rum will be at Lawless?
How much spice rum? When is
Not
it?
enough.
When is it?
let's do this. It'll be in the comments. We're going to obviously drop the links.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
This
But
gonna
let's
be.
talk
If you
about
look right on
where-
the bottom of the screen down here, it's right there. But you can say it out loud.
But
It does all need updating.
there are social media places that
Yeah.
people go, right? Sue, do you want to just tell us about this Facebook stuff?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
primarily we communicate via the Lawless Comic Con Facebook group. So if you do a search from us, we should come straight up and you can join the group. And that's where a lot of the community is. People post up their latest comic purchases as well. It's quite a social group, so people post up the cosplay they're working on for the show, the art that they've been working on, quite a few Kickstarters. So when they start getting out of hand, I start drilling those. Okay, enough advertising everybody on Kickstarters because we're promoting the show and stuff like that. But generally it's a very sociable atmosphere. That's primarily where I announce all our guest announcements and things like that, and when new things are happening, that's where it all goes. We've just started up a Blue Sky account as well, so Lawless Comic Con is on Blue Sky too now.
Okay, I'm not hip. What is Blue Sky? I have no clue what
I
Blue
only
Sky
just
is.
discovered it this week. So yeah, I'll
Okay.
freely admit I am not a social media guru.
Okay.
I do this because I have to promote my show. So it's the equivalent to Twitter, basically.
Oh, you mean to X? I don't know why they're calling it X. It just sounds wrong.
Sounds
totally wrong. I don't know what idea.
It sounds very adult rated, doesn't it? Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I don't know. This Elon Musk guy, I don't know what his problem is. Yeah.
No. So yeah, Blue Sky is the alternative at the moment that everyone's signed up to.
Yeah.
There are several others, but I work full time, so I have not got the time to sign up to 14 different social media accounts. So
Right.
this is where you'll find us. Essentially, there is a website, the lawlesscomiccon.co.uk. It does need updating with all the 2024 stuff.
When's it going ahead, Sue? Where and when?
Yeah.
So it goes ahead on the last bank holiday or British bank holiday weekend in May. So it's the 24th, 25th or 25th, 26th. I can't remember.
It would be, and I have it right here. It
What's
would
the last
be,
weekend?
oh God, I just lost it. I had it right here. The 25th and 26th.
There you go. 25th and 26th.
Yeah.
2024. at the DoubleTree by Hilton in Bristol, in Redcliffe Way in Bristol. It's the same place every year because the hotel are absolutely adorable to us. So we always hold it at the DoubleTree because they're awesome to us. And yeah, we open from about 9 o'clock on the Saturday morning. We finish at 5 and everyone goes for a drink. And then we'll be having a VIP event of some shape or form at some point in Saturday evening. And then we'll open again 9 o'clock on Sunday and do it all again.
And it's great for public transport because the main bus station, Temple Meads, is literally a 5-minute walk, isn't it? It's great. It's just
it's really easy to get to. And there's parking as well, so there's parking quite local and on site as well, so everyone kind of can drive in.
And if you fly, and I don't know if you're flying into Heathrow, I'd imagine, Vicky, are you? Otherwise, you're not necessarily going to get to Bristol Airport, but then we have an airport as well, but it is only a hub airport. So.
As long as it can accommodate my wheelchair, I don't care.
There you go. Yeah, I haven't been to England since 1985. That's kind of like I never was there, if you think about it.
It's a lovely city. It's very cultural. There's a lot going on. It's got good buzz to it.
I'm really looking forward to going to the show. We're coming to the Comic Con next weekend for Mike Allwood's Comic Con, the expo.
Lovely.
So yeah, I'll be seeing you there because I'm looking forward. And we're going to go for a quick wander around Bristol as well. But yeah, we'll come and say hello.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just a day show. This will be out just shortly before that, and we were chatting about it earlier. And I don't know Mike very well. I do remember him from back in the day when I used to go to his conventions before. But of course, we met up at your show, Sue, last year. He turned up and had a look around, and I think you guys do some mutual sort of marketing, don't you? You kind of,
So I know he's been looking to do. He did do the original Bristol comic convention back in the day. That was at the DoubleTree apparently years back. So I know he's been looking to bring something back for a while to do something. So this was a chance. I don't know if it'll be a one-off or if he's looking to do it on a yearly basis, but I think it was just an excuse for him to try and dip his toe back into the scene again. And he's got a lot of contacts, and and it's the same with a lot of our smaller conventions. There's a few of us dotted about. There's one over in Ireland as well called Enniskillen, and these smaller size conventions. It is very much a respectful kind of I help you, you help me kind of. We'll promote each other. We're not competition. We do all get along really well, which is very nice as well. So everyone kind of helps each other out. And
I've asked a lot, Sue, about advice you'd give to someone thinking about starting a comic or publishing something. So I'm going to ask you that question. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to start up a comic convention?
A comic convention?
Yeah, a show. You've done a few now.
Don't do it. No.
Are you insane? You'd say.
I think my biggest starting point would be find your audience. Who are you putting it on for? Who's going to show up? Who do you want it for? Is it who? Maybe not who's your fandom. Obviously, our biggest issue, I suppose, is making sure it doesn't get clicky. Much as it's a very niche comic convention, and it's very community led. I don't want it to be clicky. I want it to involve everybody, and everybody is welcome. So it's a fine balance to try and ensure that doesn't happen. But if you're going to start up a convention, who's your audience? Who you're providing a convention for? And then the next after that is where do you find that audience? Who do you know that's going to rock up? And then how do you get them to rock up? Would be my advice.
Okay, I think we're coming to the tail end of this. I want final questions from everybody. Ben, final question. Not your housekeeping. Final question.
Final question. I don't have one. That was my final question. So, Vicky.
All right, let's go to Vicky. Vicky, final question. We're stumping you again.
Well, my final question is, I'm going to say that I feel like you have no regrets. So what would you say to yourself 10 years ago when you were putting your toe into this? What would you say to yourself 10 years ago? That it was all going to be okay. Or what would you say to yourself now 10 years in the future that that your 10th anniversary is going to be fine and the 20th is going to be fabulous?
God, I don't know. Keep doing it. Yeah, it's
just keep going.
Keep going. You're going to make a ton of friends out of it, and that's the biggest thing I've noticed is the amount of people. the amount of people I know who are really, really good people that I would never have met or got in touch with or contact with. I mean, Ben, you and I literally have met through this show, and it would
Yep.
never have happened.
That's right.
And that's I think that's the biggest thing I've taken from it. It's just the amount of awesome people that I've met, and in fairness, the comic industry itself. I started it off because I knew a bunch of guys who dressed as judges, not because I knew a lot. I'm not the encyclopedia of comics. I do not know
Right.
comics. I know comics now better and more than I did, definitely. And I appreciate them more, definitely, as well. I appreciate the medium. I read them a lot more as myself, and I collect a lot more. Well, granted, I was always a Tank Girl fan, but Judge Dredd 2000 AD, it's introduced me to a whole wider world that I would have never even touched upon at all. So
I have to agree with you on that. Everything from attending conventions to working with Ben and Mark. And Mark, I would do a panel with you any day.
Oh, we have to. We have to do that. We have to.
We got to do that. Kumbaya,
Yeah.
Because I've met so many people through doing the 77 and doing MarkWHO42 that it's so nice to meet people who maybe, yes, we're similar and like-minded, but they expand my likes, they expand my fandoms, they expand my, I never thought about it this way, or I never thought that I would like this. And there's so many more things that I want to try and expose and read and explore. And I think that's what I think that's what a convention should be, and I think that's what things like the 77 should be. And I love my MCU. I love my DC Comics, don't get me wrong, and they have their place. And the big giant comic conventions, they have their place, but I'm probably going to stick to smaller size ones,
I think
going forward, because I want to be with people.
Yeah, it's about the people, isn't it?
It's definitely about the people, not the guests.
Yes.
The biggest thing that I've noticed, and the biggest thing that I get out of it personally, that I do sometimes forget because of the stress of the situation, the amount of organizing it takes and stuff like that. But when it happens on the day, and that moment after, at the end of the day, when I'm sat in the hotel room with Andy and we're just like calming down and chilling out, and at the end of the weekend, when you see everything, it's the absolute joy that I've brought to everybody at that weekend. I've just managed to bring joy to 400 odd people in the space of 48 hours, and that's wow. When you sit and think about it like that, that's not, you don't want to stroke your own ego, but that's quite a thing. And
I mean, it's the end of the show, but just to say a few things about some of the people, not mentioning any names, but we all have some things going on in our lives. And when we go to these conventions, and when we particularly go to Lawless, I might be sharing someone's burden. I might be just helping out, chatting to someone. They're just away from something that they've been dealing with, or
kind of
they're
lifts
just
us
amongst
all up
friends, or whatever it is. It's just lovely. It's just great stuff.
Yeah.
Being able to bring joy and bring people together that's what it means to me. That's why I do it.
I love it.
Okay, let's do some housekeeping real quick, Ben.
Okay, our publications, the 77 publications, can be found on Facebook, and our shop is the 77comic.net. We've got the new releases for Lifeboat, and This Comic is Haunted 3 will be coming out soon, so check it out, and we'll see you at all these conventions we've been discussing about in the next few months.
All right, let me do my bit of housekeeping. Vicky and myself do a show on Subspace Radio Network called MarkWHO42's Universe. You can listen to it several times a week at subspace.radio, or you can get the app, or go to iHeart and all that fun stuff. Then we put out an extended version of that podcast. You can find that at MarkWHO42.com. It's called the MarkWHO42's podcast. And you can also find that on all the platforms around the world, Audible, Pandora, just everywhere you can think of. I think that's the show. Oh, I didn't ask my final question. Okay. If you were going, and this may be hard, another hard question, I'm sorry. If you were going to say in one sentence or two sentences why people should come to Lawless, what would you say? How would you sell it?
think I've already sold it, to be honest.
Well, I think so too. But for those tuning in late and they didn't want to rewind this, no, I'm kidding. Good,
if you want a really great weekend to meet new people and connect with your heroes, then and spend time face-to-face time with really good conversations in a pint and gets a really good sketch, or watch some really good panels, then Lawless is the place to do it.
All right. Well, I hope this show helps build the audience as well.
Thank you.
Just remember, guys, down here is the subscribe button and the likes. Please do that here at the 77 Publications YouTube channel for MarkWHO77. I'm glad we had this. Thank you so much, Sue, for doing the show with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
On behalf of myself, Ben Cullis, and Vicky Jakubowski, we'd like to say goodbye to everyone and not listen, but watch us next time as we have another great episode of MarkWHO77. Bye, guys.
Bye.